Let me begin with a heartfelt thank you to Gila and to Simcha for arranging this. It was really a great public service. I know I'm speaking on behalf of my fellow panelists and everybody who's here in this wonderful turnout. Thank you all for coming as well. And I have a particular thanks to give personally, because I think that perhaps what I'll have to say now might prove to be not as popular as what you might hear after me. And I appreciate the opportunity to air a point of view that unfortunately has not always been given the proper airing in the general media and in the Jewish media. I'd also like to make clear at the onset that while I intend to speak very clearly, and perhaps you might feel bluntly, nothing that I say should be construed by anyone as impugning the intentions or goodwill of anybody. I might feel that certain approaches or certain decisions were misguided, but I mean to judge things, not people. Only he judges people, so I'm only dealing with things. Searching for the right metaphor for the relationship between ethics and kashrut, what I came up with was that it's the same relationship between personal hygiene and poetry. Get it? No. Well, a great poet might opt to not shower, but that bad habit doesn't necessarily affect the quality of his writing. One might not want to attend readings of the poet, but nevertheless his poetry has to be judged separate from his hygiene. The cantos are the cantos, Ezra Pound notwithstanding. So while kosher food producers are certainly required, without any doubt, by halacha, to act ethically in every aspect of their business and their personal lives, any lapses on that score have no effect, and I stress no effect, on the kashrut of the food that they produce. The same applies to their observance or lack of observance of the Torah's laws mandating kindness and care for animals, proper treatment of workers, and to societal laws that might have extra halachic ramifications, labor laws that go beyond the letter of what the halacha would require, environmental regulations, etc. All those things may well be mandates on a Jew, if nothing else through dina de malchuta dina, because the laws of the state become, perforce, the laws of the Jewish person. But they are independent, once again, of kashrut. This is eminently clear from the Talmud and from the halakhic codes. And that's part of the objection that some, and myself included, have to the proposed hechsher tzedek that has been endorsed by non-Orthodox movements. It conflates and confuses two independent Jewish concepts, and thus it misleads. Each of the Jewish concepts is a valid one, but they're not the same one. Moving on, that begs, of course, the larger question and more important question of whether or not kosher food producers should be held accountable for non-ethical behavior. Of course they should. Here, though, there's also a further thought to think. Accountable, yes, but more accountable than merchants of Judaica, booksellers, synagogues, educational institutions, widget manufacturers? No. They're no more accountable. Each of us, whatever our profession, is accountable to all of the laws of kosher mishpat and beyond. The fact that what has been proposed has been limited to kosher food producers is therefore baffling, or perhaps telling. And it constitutes a second objection to the Hechsher Tzedek initiative. Jewish ethics is a meta-concept, and it's not limited to kashrut. Further adding to the objections that I and others have to Hechsher Tzedek is the fact that the plan was conceived in sin. It's not a word that I use lightly. It's not a word that I use often. The sin I refer to is the sin of jumping to negative judgments of others. The impetus of the initiative, as was mentioned by Gila before, and by all accounts, was the controversy over a company called Agri-Processors. Now let me state right away that I have no connection to them. I don't know them. I wouldn't know a Rubashkin from a Rubik's Cube. Never met one. Nor do I have any idea if any of the company's owners are guilty of any of the very varied charges that have been leveled against them by private groups, by government officials, by the media, by the other media, by more media. I have no idea. I don't know if they mistreated animals, as Peter says. I saw no such thing on their videos, but I don't know. I don't know if they ran a methamphetamine lab, as a government affidavit included in it. I have no idea. I don't know if they harassed employees. I don't know if they knowingly hired underage workers. I don't know if they misrepresented the amount of collateral that they had in a loan. A crime, an accusation, an assertion for which one member is languishing in jail at the moment. I don't know. Neither do you. Neither does anyone, no matter what anyone thinks. What I do know, and what all of us should know, is that it is Jewishly wrong to assume guilt on the basis of accusations, no matter how many accusations there are. It is, to put it clearly and simply, unethical, Jewishly unethical. And to create and to herald a new effort as a result of mere accusations against people disregards a clear Torah law called Utzoas Shemra. Let's pretend, though, for the moment, that the Hechsher Tzedek initiative was proposed out of the blue, or as the result of a clear and proven, across-the-board problem of ethics across the kashrut industry. Would that not be sufficient reason to create a mechanism to ensure that the industry will better hew to Jewish ethical obligations? Yes, it would. And indeed, in Jewish history, there are precedents of Gedolei Hador, elders of the community, who threatened recalcitrant merchants with communal penalties, who instituted price controls and other such measures. But here too, there's something very important to bear in mind. The operative principle in such cases, and this is my final point, is that those decisions are not decisions that any of us is necessarily qualified to make. If the term Orthodox Judaism has any meaning, it lies in reverence for the past and for those who lie closer to the past than we. The proper way to explore whether a communal mechanism is warranted and proper to deal with a particular problem, whatever the problem, is to bring it to the attention of the elders of the community. There are, of course, different sub-communities in the Orthodox world, which I don't think I have to tell anyone here. But each has its elders. Each has its accomplished and experienced Talmidei Chachamim. Theirs is the address. I don't expect a conservative rabbi to acknowledge that fact, because the non-Orthodox movements are, by definition, progressive, i.e. focused on the future, focused on change, focused on youth, not on Mesorah, not on Zikna, not on our tradition handed down meticulously, and not on respect for elders. But those of us who call ourselves Orthodox have to know on whose shoulders we stand, and who the Torah teaches us to consider to be the Einei Ha'eda, the perceptive and farther-seeing eyes of the community. Thank you for listening.